Hello, my name is Green, and today I'm going to be showing you a bunch of simple designs to keep your base safe from those pesky mobs. Basically, if we spawn Gerald in here, hi Gerald, you're going to be our test villager for the rest of this episode, and we spawn any monster or zombie, Gerald is going to represent us in this scenario. The zombies get in and they start eating Gerald until he's gone. Unfortunately, this is how things tend to go in Minecraft, but it doesn't have to be, because we can protect ourselves using some very simple techniques. We don't often have to use complicated redstone. We can use some very nice tricks that can keep us safe. So, I've got a bunch of house designs, and the houses are irrelevant. It's mainly the way that we defend them. So, let's get into it. The first one that I want to show you is a wall. Now, nothing quite beats a wall in Minecraft, if you ask me, because if we make a little wall and we put Gerald inside, this zombie is not gonna get him. Now, obviously, there are many different kinds of mobs. Spiders can go straight over the top of walls, but there are different things that we can do. Run, Gerald, run! So, the first one that I want to show you is this rather clever wall made of trapdoors. And not only is it clever, but it actually looks pretty decent. This looks like a normal garden fence. And you might be wondering what's so special about this, because, you know, mobs can just walk over to this and then that's it. It's just, why is it any different to a normal wall? Well, let me show you. So let's make it nighttime, and let's put Gerald inside the garden. Hi, Gerald. And if we put a zombie here, he should go after Gerald, but he starts taking lots of damage. Oh, bye. Bye, Gerald. He scarpered really quick. So the zombie takes a lot of damage. He's still after the villager in there, but he just gets to this wall and starts dying. And that's because we've got lots of magma blocks. And now this is the really interesting thing about this design. Magma blocks work in peculiar ways. Now, this is probably a good time to say that most of this works in Java, and I don't know if it works in any of the other versions, so just a heads up. But this is really interesting. So, if you have the magma blocks all the way around here, so this is the really interesting thing about this. If we plop Gerald in the middle here, and we have a zombie, he stops. He stops at the magma. He doesn't want to go on it at all. He's actually going for the other Gerald now. So interestingly here, if I plop a zombie down, he goes after him, but he will not walk on the magma block one bit. I think he's a bit confused. But anyway, watch what happens when I put this here. The zombie will then walk over the magma blocks, which is really strange, just because there's a trapdoor on it. So if we put the zombie down here, it doesn't work with carpets either. He just stops. But as soon as you put a trapdoor down, he's willing to go over. So that gives us a really cool mechanic here. It means that he's willing to walk over these trapdoors with the magma blocks, and then all we have to do is put a barrier here that he can see through. So these trapdoors, he's still going to go after Gerald, even though there is a physical barrier here. So they end up just walking straight after Gerald and taking loads of damage. And then, if you like this design and you want to keep it, there is an easy way to make a door with this. You just put two trapdoors here. This one is irrelevant, but if you have a trapdoor here, you can just walk straight on through like so. So you just have a little bit of a fence gate here, and it looks really slick and in line with everything else. So this works really, really well. So this isn't spider-proof. Every single one of these designs has its ups and its downs, but this one is a fairly good place to start. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So this design is using one of my new favourite things in Minecraft, and as you can see, the defense doesn't include any physical barriers. But as you can see, there's this rigid pattern of trapdoors that goes all the way around. And this is what happens if you try to get in. If I put myself into survival mode, and I walk up to the house, yep, I just get pushed straight back, and I get damaged a lot. Now, that's because there are lots of little pufferfish all under these trapdoors. And it's actually quite amazing how good these guys are. So, let's put Gerald on the side here. Gerald might even walk into the pufferfish himself because he's not a smart cookie. But if I place a couple of zombies here, you'll see that they get knocked back by the pufferfish really, really quickly. And they go down like a sack of potatoes. This is a really, really effective way. They can still get through, though, if there's a lot of them. It's not a completely foolproof way, but if it's just the one zombie, they typically just get knocked back and back and back and back. But the pufferfish wall is also something that may trick players as well as the mobs. Now, you may be wondering, how do you actually walk over this? Well, I actually thought about that. You could make a few tunnels. You could make a tunnel that goes underneath something that a mob wouldn't necessarily follow you in. But that's a bit lame. Or you could make a bridge that goes over the top, but a mob could also follow you there. Also a bit lame. So I thought, why not make a bit of a slime launcher? So this mechanism is a really, really simple one, and it's been disguised a little bit into the house. This is like a garage area, and if you hit this button here, it sends you straight over the wall, quick enough that the pufferfish don't even know. So if I go into survival again, and I hit the button, you see? It just launches me straight over. And if you do one of these on the outside over here, wherever it may be, it could launch yourself back into the base as well. So it's like a really clever door here. This is one of my favorite designs just because pufferfish are a lot of fun. This could trick people as well as mobs as well. Oh no, I'm in crew. I'm in survival, he's going after me. No, go after Gerald. No, Gerald! Gerald! So these are all pretty recent ideas, seeing as the magma blocks and the pufferfish are very new to the game, and I'm pretty sure there are even more ways that we could do this. So let's keep moving on, shall we? So this one is an extremely simple design, but I wanted to include it because it is so cheap to make. Now, none of these are going to keep out the mobs indefinitely, but this one in particular is rather special. So the only difference here is that you have a bit of carpet in front of you, and then you can walk up to it and then jump into your own house. Now, if you want to stop anyone else getting in, you simply activate the lever, and as you can see, you can no longer jump in the way that we were before. This means that mobs, if we put Gerald in this house, and then we put a bad Gerald out here, he won't be able to get in at all. He just sort of will go around the house and not be able to get to the door at all. Even if you don't activate the lever, they can't get in either because they can't jump the same way. Look, if I put Bad Gerald here, he can't get in. He can't figure it out. So this is just a really, really simple way of dealing with some mobs and even players if you just don't want them to be able to get into your house very easily. You could elaborate on this and make it into a wall. Now, how does it work? Well, it's quite simple. There's fence gates underneath carpet, and the redstone simply opens and closes them. There's nothing really much else to it. It is just as simple as that. While it's open, you're on the same level as this block here, but as soon as it's closed, it becomes 1.5 blocks, meaning that you can jump up as long as there's a slab here. So it's a very simple way of making a house entrance. Moving on to the next one. Now, this one is a bit more of an elaborate house and scheme. Now, this is a lava house, a volcano house. So, you might be able to see that there are a bunch of dispensers around here. In fact, they are placed all the way around the house. And once you're inside the house, you will have the physical option of activating all of these dispensers which have lava in them, meaning that it's all going to droop down. Now, I've actually got this house set on a daylight sensor, meaning when it's night, you get an automatic defense system, like so. There we go. As soon as it hits night, all of the lava comes pouring out. And it should spread in such a way that pretty much everything's covered. Now, there is a downside to this. If you're not by your house by the time it hits night, you also lock yourself out a little bit as well. But this is a really decent way of dealing with it, because Gerald up here isn't going to mind. But if you put a bad Gerald here, they're just going to walk straight into the lava and they won't be able to get to you at all. So you could make this a manual mechanism, or you could put it on a daylight sensor if you want just the day and night scheme. So this is a pretty clever idea, and the redstone again is very simple. The redstone looks way more complicated than it really is. It's all basically on a switch, so it's all deactivated at the moment, but if you switch it off, it just powers all the redstone torches, that triggers it off, and then the switch again, if you turn it off, will deactivate it. It's very, very simple indeed. So lava is a pretty obvious one, and it only really works when you put it in this kind of design. But this one will keep you properly defended from most mobs, and probably yourself if you forget about it. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? Now, this one is a very simple designed house. It's a very easy starter house, and it kind of goes off this similar design, but it's just not that effective. So let's put Gerald in his house, shall we? And then all we want to do is, if we want to keep the mobs out, is we activate this lever, and it brings out a defense mechanism of water, meaning that no bad Gerald will be able to get to him because they just hit the water and bounce off. It does mean that they don't die in the sun because water is keeping them safe, but at least Gerald is safe in here. He's not going anywhere. But it means you could just take care of them. This is a good way of keeping them alive long enough to hit them. But again, this is a fairly weak design, but it is effective nonetheless. None of these mobs will be able to get inside. The good thing about this one is that it is reusable. You can switch it off and then it will just take the water sources back in. Now this idea of course was able to be done at any point, but because of the 1.13 update, the water can go inside of these spruce trap doors very easily, and indeed these spruce stairs as well, and it gets taken away again. So it means that we can completely hide all of these dispensers from view, meaning that you wouldn't be able to see what defense is there if it's a player, and well, it's just for your own aesthetic purposes if you are the owner of this house. And similarly, the next one is an exact replica of this house, except it's a little bit more complex. So there's more dispensers here, but instead of being a water one, let's put Gerald in there, and let's put a bad Gerald out here, and let's activate this one. Bad Gerald isn't going to get anywhere near us. This is a little bit over the top. This sends arrows out in every single direction. This is a good defense for players and mobs alike because you won't see it coming. The only reason this works is because arrows can get shot through these trap doors. However, they don't get shot through these staircases, which is why we have to link these up to a piston, which means it does need a bit more redstone. In this house, the redstone underneath is fairly simple. All you need to do is link up all of these in a circle where your dispensers are, and it will work. This one's a bit more complex because we need to put in a repeater down here. Now, there's not a lot of space down here because it's a very small house. But essentially, all there is to it is there's two observers, there's a piston here. The lever here activates this piston. Move out of the way, Gerald. And it sends off a pulse all the way round. The only issue is the pistons. So it sends a redstone signal down here, that activates these, and that will retract the pistons just in time for the arrows to come piling out, as you can see there. So it is a very simple redstone design, but it does need a bit more technical know-how than any of these other designs. But oh boy, it's truly overkill for this one. I'm not even sure Bad Gerald deserves this. Right, let's move on to possibly the most enjoyable one of all of the designs that I want to show you. Now, I can't speak for any of the other versions of Minecraft. I simply haven't tested it on all of them. But on the Java edition, if you place stone slabs or any kind of slab above air, so all of these have air underneath them, the pathfinding struggles to work. So this is going to be great. So if I place down a bunch of Geralds, this is what happens. They don't know where to go, and they just spin on the spot like they're all dancing. Dance, Gerald, dance. But let's put a bunch of bad Geralds and see what happens. They basically go after them. They hit this part, and they don't think that they can walk on it, so they just don't. They just stop while the other guys are spinning. And this is the same for us. So we can casually stand on this part of the build and no bad Gerald will ever get to you. Of course, with many of these designs, the skeletons will be able to just fire their arrows at you. But even they struggle. If they do happen to get on, they just spin along as well. And it's arguably much more funny when the zombies are there too, because they put their hands up and really look like they're dancing. This is also particularly great if you want to have a little bit of a rave. Spin, 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 round and round we go. Occasionally they do chase after them, but I mean, they're not going to be putting up much of a fight at this point, are they? It's got to be the funniest thing. I imagine at some point this will get fixed, but for now, this is a legitimate way to completely defend your house. I think we're just gonna leave these guys to spin for a while. Eventually they will catch up to each other, but they're gonna dance for the meantime. Now, the last design I want to show you is kind of a build on most of the other ones and ideas that we've had before. So this is the very simple house that we've got in here. We're going to put a couple of Geralds in here. And this is our defense. So there's nothing here except a moat. Now, moats have been used in Minecraft for generations. They really have. But with the new 1.13 update, something has slightly changed. So we now have the magma block. Now, beforehand, the mobs used to, if this is just water, they would just walk up to this and stop and be here. That's it. But for some reason, when there's bubbles there, they can't cross it at all. They don't like it. So any one of these, just the fact that there are water blocks everywhere means that none of these will cross over. And if somehow they do get pushed in, they get pushed into the water and die from the magma. So this is a really cheap and effective way of protecting Gerald! Well, it's not very good for Gerald. Oh no, it's all going loose, isn't it? This is still very good. It might look a bit rough, but these guys will not walk across here, but they can get pushed, and if they do, there's still the water to take care of them, while your Geralds will sit inside and be safe. This even works if you have carpet on top of it, meaning that you, as a player, can walk straight over this hassle-free, while the mobs are still a little bit confused about where to go. And if you want to look even more swish with a little moat, you can make a little wall, and then if you want to walk across, you just lower the drawbridge and you can walk across. But however, you will need to bring these up, because if you don't, the mobs will walk across like so. Remember, they don't mind trapdoors. There's too many Geralds around. He will just walk across because he understands trapdoors. But this same mechanism is the one that makes the very first design work altogether. So maybe this has given you some food for thought on how to defend your house. Maybe a mixture of all of these will make your house truly impenetrable. So that's it from me, everyone. Let's have a quick look through. So this one was the moat with the carpet, which is easy to walk over. This one is the Dance Dance Revolution design, where all you need is some space underneath some slabs, and the mobs won't know what to do with themselves. They will just spin around forever. And we have this one, which is the rather over-the-top mechanism for shooting arrows very, very quickly. We have this, which is the water dispenser, a very cheap and effective way. However, it's not perhaps the best defense in the world. We have the volcano house, which spews out lava, and then nothing can get in. We have the very, very simple mechanism of making it so you can and cannot get into this particular house. And then we have my personal favourite, the pufferfish wall defense, with a very custom way of getting in and out of it. And finally, we have our magma wall, which perhaps looks the best out of all of these designs, but has a normal wall. Now, like I said, none of these particularly defend from every single mob. They will get through. The best way, unfortunately, of getting rid of all your mobs permanently is just spamming torches and lighting up your base so that none of them spawn at all. So, that's it from me, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you learnt a few things, and maybe this has given you some ideas of your own. Thank you very much for watching again, and goodbye!